Hey there, here's a question. What happens when a customer or a prospective customer says yes to your offer and then you send out the paperwork, you want them to actually sign up, and more importantly, what happens, and you've sent out the link for them to make the payment, and for whatever reason, the client stalls on you. So they've agreed to get started with you, and then what's happened in some cases, they've had a little bit of time to think about it, they've got off a call with you and life gets busy, all those sorts of things can occur, and then the client ends up stalling you. You've got a contract or an agreement out there to be signed, and you've got a payment link for them to make their initial installment to get started. And so they've agreed, you've done a great presentation, they've got excited, they said, yep, we want to do this, and then they've had 24 hours to think about it, or 48 hours, depending on how long it took you to send out the agreement for them to sign up, or send out the payment link, or send out the invoice, and then they'll turn around and they'll stall you. Or they'll say, look, yep, this is all good, but can we wait a little bit, or can we hang on a little bit? Now, a couple of things have happened here. One, they genuinely still want to go ahead with you. It's just that there are some other competing priorities that are taking precedence over your offer. And that's understandable. As long as you that they're clear, that they're still interested, that they want to work with you, take advantage of your opportunity, then you want to make it easy for them to get started. So how do we minimize the impact of this occurring to us in business? So first of all, you want to be very clear in your sales process right up front, and this is what I teach my consulting champions, is that you want to you want to be very clear and say to the person, so look, at the end of our presentation here, as long as we've covered your objectives, we know why it's important for you to get this thing going, and more importantly, we can eliminate those roadblocks, and we can show how we can actually bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. I'm going to ask you to make a decision at the end of this, if you feel that this is a fit, that we get started. Is that okay with you? So at the very beginning of your presentation, you're actually asking them to agree to actually make a decision at the end of your presentation. That's one way, because then you can go, hey, remember at the beginning we talked about, this is the project, this is the objective, this is how we bridge the gap, and this is why it's important for you to get started. Yep, great. Is it okay if I walk you through how we work together and get started? And that puts you into a closing mode, or an agreement of, hey, we're going to work together because we've answered your questions and we've solved your problem. Now, that's one way of handling this. The second thing is to have an agreement ready to sign at the end of your presentation. Say, great, if you want to get started, is it okay if I walk you through how we get this thing going? Let me walk you through our agreement, and these are the list of inclusions of the offer that we're making, and here is our terms and conditions, and at the end of the day, we just require an initial installment. Best way to do that is, what's the best credit card you have that gives you the most frequent flyer points? Let's use that card for the initial installment. And so you can actually close the client with a payment on the spot. So you can have, and then you can make an offer, whether it's a full upfront payment for everything, or that you want to phase the payments in for your client. So you've got some choices that you can offer to your customer. So this will minimize the impact of, well, this will tell you whether they're really serious about buying. It also minimises the impact of people second guessing themselves, or going away and getting distracted, so you can get the ball rolling. So that's another thing. And also, maybe the reason why the client stalls on you is they don't have all the information. So you want to get the client back on the phone as quickly as possible, answer their questions, provide them with the relevant information that they need to be able to move forward in the deal. Now, 24 to 48 hours, if you have a think about it situation, you want to be closing the client within 24 to 48 hours. 24 to 48 hours. The reason why 24 to 48 hours, 75% of what you share to them is gone out of their brain after about 48 hours. And so anything after that, then we start to elongate the process of engaging you as the service provider. So if at the end of a presentation they've got to think about it genuinely, and people do, right? A lot of people will say, hey, look, we just need to mull this over. You want to make sure that you've answered all the questions, that you're very clear with all the objectives, that they're very clear, and at the end of the day, you understand they've got to have a bit of a think about it. Can I call you either 9 o'clock tomorrow morning or 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning? Which would you prefer? Lock in a scheduled time for the follow-up. In between that time and your follow-up, you want to be sending some more information. You might want to send a testimonial, a case study. You might want to send a reassurance, like a quick video. G'day, Jamil. A quick video to say, hey, thank you. It's really great. I'm super excited about working with you. I just want to make sure you're very clear about what we've outlined in the program. This is the first phase. This is how we're going to help you. And as I said, our team's super excited. We want to be able to get those results as soon as possible. So you can send out a little text message or a video message just like that to reassure them, to remind them, and to keep them warm or hot on working with you in this opportunity. From there, so you want to be closing within 24 hours to 48 hours, no longer. I would prefer to close on the spot. So what you want to do is work into your presentation the ability to close at the time of of your sales presentation, right? And you want to let them know that you're going to be asking them at the end of the sales presentation. This is what we do at the end of our sales pitch. We sit there and say, hey, is everything good? We're okay, great. Can we walk you through what it's like to work with us? They say yes. Then we walk in through, hey, can we go through and walk through our agreement? So we walk through our agreement online, face-to-face, on the call, right, with them straight away. So here's the agreement. Here's what you're agreeing to. Here's what you're signing up for. And then from there, great, which is the best credit card that you get the most frequent flyer points out of or rewards points out of? Use that one for your initial deposit installment. So we, on average, would take the deposit probably about 30% of the time people are paying upfront on the time of the pitch. So 70% of the time we're getting a situation where we need to think about it, or it's not for them. Right, so or like they just need a little bit of time, so they might not close today, but they will close within the next 24 to 48 hours. The longest that they would close is probably by within a week, right? So because obviously they've got things to consider, they might have people involved, all those sorts of things. But all those sorts of things should have been discussed prior to you doing a presentation. The more you are very clear about their objectives, what this presentation's about, how you're going to help them, how you solve that problem of bridging the gap from where they are now to where they want to be in relation to the results that you can get for them, then you want to be saying, hey, if we can do that and make it easy for you, let's get started now. It makes sense that we work together. So this way you're going to minimize this impact of somebody deciding to go ahead and then all of a sudden they're presented with a terms and conditions and an invoice and life takes over and business takes over. And that's not to say that they don't intend to go ahead with you. It's just that they've got other priorities, and literally what happens is life gets into this game. So you want to minimize the impact of that. You want to make sure that you're very clear right up front that you're asking them to make a decision. If it's good for them and it's good for you, you're going to help them, and so you're going to work with them to get started. And the more enthusiasm and the more confidence you bring to that, then you're going to have people saying yes a lot more in your presentations, and more importantly, you're going to have people starting a lot faster if you want to do that. So as I said, I know this can be a challenge, and the reason why sometimes is people get really excited, they'll say yes, and all of a sudden life takes over. We want to minimize the impact of the life taking over. We want to make sure that we do everything humanly possible to help them to get started, because ideally they've agreed that this is something that they want to do, and ideally, because you're the person who's coming with a solution, that they should be doing it with you. So, love to hear your thoughts on comments on this video, on this post. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on the next video.